The Dallas Cowboys have long been a franchise that attracts headlines, speculation, and excitement, especially during the NFL offseason, and this year is no different. The recent buzz surrounding the possibility of the team adding a veteran cornerback like Stephon Gilmore has set off a storm of discussion among fans, analysts, and insiders alike. While nothing is confirmed, the hints being dropped by Cowboys insiders, combined with the front office's actions and roster construction, make the rumors more than just idle chatter. This isn't the first time Gilmore's name has been connected to the Cowboys, of course. He already spent the 2023 season in Dallas and played a respectable role opposite Trevon Diggs before heading to the Minnesota Vikings for a one-year stint. Now, with the Cowboys looking at depth issues and experience gaps in their secondary, the timing couldn't be more aligned for a reunion. Gilmore, though in the twilight of his career, still offers savvy coverage, football intelligence, and the kind of locker room leadership that is hard to put a price tag on, something the Cowboys desperately need as they try to reset and recover after an underwhelming 2024 campaign that ended in disappointment and exposed multiple weaknesses across the defensive backfield. What makes this storyline even more compelling is the context in which it has emerged. The Cowboys finished 7-10 last season, a far cry from the expectations that had been set prior to the season opener. Much of that regression can be attributed to the fact that the team was riddled with injuries, inconsistent play calling, and a defense that underperformed in big moments, particularly in the secondary. Trevon Diggs, the team's star corner, was lost to a season-ending ACL injury early in the year, leaving Darren Bland to shoulder a significant burden. While Bland stepped up admirably and led the league in interceptions in 2023, it became clear that he needed support. Jordan Lewis, a reliable veteran presence, departed in free agency, and the team is now depending heavily on young, unproven players like Kaiir Elam and rookie Kalen Carson. While those names hold promise, the reality is that the Cowboys are one injury away from having an extremely vulnerable secondary, a concerning scenario in a league where high-powered passing attacks are more common than ever. Enter Stephon Gilmore. His presence at the Star recently didn't go unnoticed, nor was it likely coincidental. Cowboys brass, including Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and Will McClay, have all stated repeatedly that player acquisition is year-round, a mantra that fans have come to expect but also scrutinize, especially when it feels like the team isn't acting aggressively enough to improve its roster. Gilmore being in the building, reportedly passing by during a scheduled press conference, may have just been a casual visit to say hello, but the optics suggest something more. The fact that it happened in such a public and visible way speaks volumes. Teams often use these moments to gauge public reaction, send subtle messages, or spark negotiations through indirect means. It's a classic move, float the idea, get the media buzzing, and see how the fanbase and player agents respond. And in Gilmore's case, there's plenty of reason to believe a deal could make sense for both parties. For the Cowboys, he would bring instant credibility and reliability to a CB room that needs it. For Gilmore, it's a chance to return to a system he's familiar with, under a coaching staff he knows, with a real shot at competing in a wide-open NFC East. Some fans might question the idea of adding a 34-year-old cornerback with his best years clearly behind him. But the truth is, Gilmore remains a highly serviceable veteran. He played in all 17 games during his last full season with Dallas and had a solid campaign in Minnesota. He might not be locking down WR1s the way he did in his prime, but he understands leverage, angles, route trees, and offensive tendencies better than most. That kind of football IQ doesn't vanish with age. If anything, it becomes sharper. For young corners like Elam and Carson, learning from Gilmore could be an invaluable part of their growth and development. Having someone who has seen everything from Super Bowl game plans to AFC title runs is the kind of mentorship that doesn't show up on the stat sheet but shows up on game day. And in a league where one or two blown coverages can shift the momentum of an entire season, the value of steady, veteran play cannot be overstated. There's also the financial side to consider. The Cowboys aren't exactly strapped for cash, with a decent amount of cap space remaining following the departures of several mid-tier veterans and the restructuring of a few key contracts. A short-term, Incentive-laden deal for Gilmore, something in the range of $3 to $4 million, would be a bargain, especially when you consider what top-tier corners are commanding on the open market. The alternative is relying entirely on young players to perform at a playoff-caliber level with no safety net, and that's a risk few serious contenders would be willing to take. Adding Gilmore doesn't preclude development, it enhances it by stabilizing the room and giving the coaching staff more flexibility in coverage schemes. With Gilmore, Bland, and a hopefully healthy Diggs, the Cowboys would suddenly have a top-5 cornerback trio on paper, arguably one of the most balanced groups in the league when you consider ball-hawking ability, experience, and scheme fit. Of course, Gilmore isn't the only name being tossed around. Kendall Fuller is another option who reportedly has drawn interest. Younger than Gilmore and with a similar resume in terms of consistency and availability, Fuller could be a longer-term solution if the team wanted to strike a balance between experience and longevity. He's versatile enough to play inside or outside and would likely come at a similar price. But while Fuller is a strong candidate, he lacks the direct Cowboys connection that Gilmore already has. That familiarity with the locker room, culture, and defensive scheme makes Gilmore a plug-and-play option from day one. There have also been whispers, faint, but still audible, about Jalen Ramsey, though those rumors feel far more speculative. Ramsey is still under contract and would require both draft capital and a significant salary cap commitment, not to mention the fit is questionable at this point in his career. Bringing in someone like Ramsey would likely disrupt the developmental plans for Bland and others, while adding pressure to win immediately. The timing of these discussions is also crucial. With the NFL draft recently concluded, the Cowboys' strategy appears to be rounding into shape. While they did pick up some young secondary talent in the middle and late rounds, they largely avoided making cornerback a priority on day 1 or 2. That sends a message in itself that they're either comfortable with their current depth or are planning to address the issue via free agency. Considering the risks associated with going all in on rookies, the latter seems far more likely. Adding a veteran now allows for a smoother training camp transition and ensures that the team can spend more time installing its defensive packages instead of constantly reshuffling the secondary due to performance inconsistencies or inexperience. Another element to consider is the coaching staff. With Mike Zimmer taking over as the new defensive coordinator, the team is shifting toward a more disciplined, fundamentally sound defensive philosophy. Zimmer has always favored veterans in key coverage roles, valuing mental sharpness and positional awareness over raw athleticism alone. Gilmore fits that profile perfectly. His ability to dissect defensive formations, communicate adjustments pre-snap, and remain technically sound even when beaten off the line makes him an ideal corner in a Zimmer-led defense. Plus, Gilmore has shown a willingness to play in both man and zone coverage schemes, giving Zimmer more flexibility to disguise looks and keep offenses guessing. From a fan perspective, there's a genuine sense of optimism and nostalgia around the idea of bringing Gilmore back. Social media is full of comments, posts, and tweets calling for the team to run it back and sign the veteran for another go-around. While some fans are pushing for the team to lean entirely into youth development, the majority seem to understand that in today's NFL, the winning teams blend youth with experience, speed with savvy, and raw talent with proven leadership. Gilmore, at this stage of his career, checks nearly every box for what the Cowboys need. He's not a long-term solution, and he's not going to win Defensive Player of the Year again. But what he can do is offer stability, reliability, and mentorship, all qualities that championship teams are built on. The Cowboys are at a crossroads. The pressure is mounting for Jerry and Stephen Jones to deliver something more than hype. Dak Prescott remains under the microscope, Mike McCarthy is on a warm seat, and the NFC East isn't getting any easier. In that context, every roster move carries extra weight. Signing someone like Stephon Gilmore won't be the flashiest move of the offseason, but it might be the smartest. It might be the difference between an early playoff exit and a deep postseason run. It might be the security blanket that allows the younger corners to grow without being thrown into the fire. And most importantly, it might be the move that brings a sense of purpose and urgency back to a defense that has looked lost at times in the past 2 years. So while nothing is set in stone and the Cowboys front office continues to play things close to the vest, the signs are there. The smoke is starting to billow, and where there's smoke in Dallas, there's usually fire. Whether it's Gilmore or another veteran name, the Cowboys cannot afford to stand pat. The window is still open but not for long. Adding the right piece in the secondary could be the catalyst that turns a talented but inconsistent defense into a dominant one. And Stephon Gilmore might just be that piece.